Well, you guys did handle.
He's got a little cake.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There it is.
It
So-
hurts.
This one's for you. What was that moment?
What are you gonna do with that?
Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Don't accept her invite.
Welcome to Hot Takes with Realtors. I'm Cassie Galler, your host, and today I have with me Matt Geren and Jerry Polich with Focused Property Inspections, and they are both home inspectors with the company. Matt is a pastor, husband, father, and an inspector, and Jeremy is a military vet, woodworker, and inspector.
That works.
Did I get it
Yeah,
right?
sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are going to do this. Are you guys ready? You prepared?
I think so. Yeah, I think we're ready.
Yeah?
Let's do it.
The first one should be easy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Alright.
Let's go. I'm gonna try to eat the whole nugget, since I know you were concerned about me getting nuggets first wings, like that was gonna be less than.
Oh, that's
They
good.
absolutely soaked in the sauce. So-
That's good stuff. And that's the classic hot sauce.
Mhm. So you both teach CE classes to real estate agents. Would you say doing so improves how you inspect homes?
Go ahead.
I do. We get, while we're in the class, we don't think that we're better than anybody. We're not in there teaching them. We're learning too. So sometimes they ask a question, either agents or other home inspectors or wherever they ask a question, and then we have to do some research to find out the answer. So I think that way we end up learning more.
Yeah, I definitely think the interaction with the agents, so we're new to the area, so getting an idea of what you guys are looking for, because in the end, we're not targeting the client, the person who's purchasing that home inspection. We're targeting the relationship with an agent, so that's who we're looking for. So we get what the market is looking for, what that agent is looking for, and we can kind of tailor as we need to that.
And we're gonna know what the buyer's needs are. Got a pepper micro.
Yeah, me too.
Right.
Okay. You ready? I know you're picking. Are you ready to move on?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay.
This one is Jade Jaguar.
Just Jagger.
Jade Jagger.
Okay.
That's very
Matt.
warm.
You used to do inspections in Maine.
I did.
What would you say the biggest difference is in inspections in North Carolina versus Maine?
Hands down, it's the number of people that show up at a home inspection. Home inspections are, or buying the home in Maine is a big deal. There's not as many for sale because we don't build as many as they do down here. So when you buy a house, it's kind of a big deal. So they may have 20 people there, like grandmothers, aunts. I've been in an inspection with a 3rd grade teacher, was there, and here it's usually maybe the buyer and an agent, or maybe nobody. Maybe we just show up and do the home inspection and then call them when we're done. So that would be probably the biggest difference.
Anything in the what you're inspecting in the homes?
So
Or-
in Maine, they use different kind of heating. So
Okay.
we use boilers and furnace, like oil heat, wood
Old
stoves,
school.
things like that, right? So because we need more heat, and in North Carolina it's more cooling, right? Because it's a hotter place.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. You ready?
Oh, we're already there.
Chipotle and habanero.
I like that one.
So what does it take to become an inspector with Focused Property Inspections?
Short of the requirements that the state has, so you have to get some sort of formal training. You have 120 hours of training they require. That can be done at really any number of academies or online courses. So you have to get that, and then we'll keep it North Carolina specific. There's an 80-hour ride-along, so you have to have 80 hours with a licensed inspector. and you have to do at least 10 inspections. So 80 hours plus 10 inspections. So that generally gets you in about a 2-week time frame. And then there's a test that you take, stay in North Carolina, pay for your license, and you're good. For focused properties, though, we have a training guideline. It's about, I think, 37 pages, and it details from day one, and then as the inspector who is doing the training sees fit, you can move into the next level and you go in. So these are making sure that you find the right things, making sure you call out the right issues that are found in a home. You're able to speak to a client or to an agent intelligently, and not just come out and just grunt at something and be like, yeah, hole in wall. Well, that doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah.
And then there's a interview process that's gone as well. So.
And then you mentioned a test. So how do you have to? What's the testing process like? What do you have to get on the test?
So you have to have, well, we don't know. It's a pass or fail. I think it's 70.
70. That's a state test.
State of North Carolina. If you fail it, you can't take it again for 6 months. So there's a lot of pressure. It's a 200 question test, and you have 4 hours to take it, multiple choice.
So we use a company called International. It's the International Association of Certified Home Inspectors, and each of those have quizzes and tests for each individual section. Let's say intro to plumbing or something like that.
Okay.
For focused property, for International, if you get an 80 or better, you pass. Focused property inspection, you have to have a 90 or better.
Okay.
So we take the standard, and we're saying that 80 is you're closer to not knowing it than you are to knowing it. So you have to get at least a 90.
Okay.
Right.
You ready?
Yeah. Next row.
That one wasn't bad.
Yeah.
No, I like that one. This one's called Hotter Than.
L.
Hotter than L.
Huh.
What is your inspection specialty? Like, what in the home do you know the most and focus? Like, with woodworking, I would assume wood-based stuff maybe, and then for you maybe roofing.
I've done roofs. I've worked for a roofer. I've put roofs on by myself. But I think more so we're education based. So I think just the educational part, like the upkeep of a home, there's a lot that's involved in just buying a home and owning a home. So we can walk through and tell them when to change filters, should they check their circuit breakers, GFCI, stuff like that. But people do tend to stay kind of where their safe lane, right? So I know a lot about roofs, so I can speak to that a little more. But I don't know. What do you think?
Would you say since that is like something you know a lot about, do you focus a little more when you're inspecting that area?
No, we kind of have to do the whole deal. So I mean, we have to. We have to do the whole job. So, but there's certain things that I can explain a little easier, I guess, if they have questions. No, we kind of have to know it all.
Okay.
I think the point is to not be a specialist. I think
Okay.
it's to
Okay.
know it's not knowing just enough. It's knowing what to look for in each individual system. So for me, electrical, Matt struggled with electrical when he was coming up. And I would say he probably focuses, I would say if you really watched him, electrical is probably his specialty because that was his struggle point coming up. Where for me it was HVAC. So now I look at an HVAC system and I'm always kind of second guessing myself and I'm wanting to make sure. So I spend a lot of time really, I guess, focusing on the HVAC. But it's not because I'm concerned or anything, it's just making sure that I get all of the pieces.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Ready?
Yeah.
That one wasn't terrible.
This one's my favorite.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Los Calientes.
You're eating the whole nugget. I feel like we're getting out. Just taking a bite.
You're eating the whole thing.
Yep.
That one's warm.
That one's got a little kick.
Yeah, it does.
Really?
Yeah.
What is the difference between a seller's pre-inspection and a buyer's inspection?
Nothing.
Not really, as far as just the.
Okay, did not see that coming. It got it in my nose.
as far as what the inspection entails, it is just that. It's nothing. We're doing the same job, right?
Mm-hmm.
The seller's pre-list inspection is done before they sell their house in order to get an idea of what they maybe need to repair, so they can get out there in front of it and maybe get a better price, get a cheaper price, in order to get something repaired. If we call something out, like a bad roof, you talked about roofs, but they could get a roof done and maybe hire a company that isn't as expensive because they have like 6 months to get it done, right? The buyer inspection, we show up, we do the same inspection, but we're giving them a list, and then they have to kind of negotiate like what was found, and is the seller going to pay for that or fix it or whatever. So
As far as your involvement in this inspection, does it change from a seller's inspection to a buyer's inspection? Does the report look any different? Cost any different?
Cost is the same, report looks the same. I would say maybe with the seller's inspection, we probably go a little more in depth. We might point out cosmetic type issues, so a hole in the wall. We would let them know about it. Where in a buyer's inspection, we're not necessarily going to call that out because it's not expected, it's not required, and we don't focus on cosmetic things through a buyer's. But the purpose of the seller's in pre-list is to get an idea of things to fix to make the house as good as it can be,
Yeah.
so that we can sell it as is.
Okay. You're right.
that one's hot.
All right, we're on this one. This is Reaper.
Oh boy.
Yeah, this is gonna be it.
You said this one's gonna be it.
This one might be it.
Ooh.
On top.
Alright, Matt, this one's for you.
Gr-
Great. What was that moment that made you become a pastor?
Well, I was a family pastor at the church that I was at in Maine for about 12 years. But it started out just volunteering, and then it turned into like a part-time job, and then a full-time job, and then I was ordained. So once I was ordained, then I started doing weddings and funerals and all of those things. But I love, obviously I love God, I love, serving Him, but I also really enjoyed like helping families kind of together. So it's a little bit like home inspections, right? We're helping families. It's a service industry. So there's a lot of things with kids these days as they're growing up. We want to get back to the basics sometimes. So yeah.
Okay. I know you had mentioned in class that you had like a story behind.
Oh, how I became a home inspector.
Oh,
Right?
that was it.
Yeah, so Daryl, he owns our company, he lives in Maine. I was my wife and I decided we wanted to move to North Carolina a few years back. As our kids grew up and moved out, we wanted to move to North Carolina. So I started studying, like, what could I do? I can't be a pastor everywhere, right? So I started taking some classes.
I mean, that's everywhere, huh?
Right,
Like,
that's true.
They're everywhere.
Yeah, and so I started just taking some classes in home inspection and stuff. I found InterNACHI online, and then also COVID was happening, so they were shutting down a lot of things, and they shut down our church. We had a big church, and that I came from. They shut it down so that there were only like 10 people allowed in the building at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I love people. I want to be around people, right? So I was being told I couldn't be with people. So a guy said, you should do something new. So I was doing this home inspection class. Turns out Daryl, the owner of the company, called and said, hey, I want to get baptized, and I want to baptize my kids. So this guy sent in my direction, and I said, hey, all right, let's do it. So I baptized Daryl, not knowing what he did for work.
Mm-hmm.
So I baptized him, he baptized his 2 kids, and then after that, oh, that was hot.
They worked in offices right across the hall from each other for
Yes.
4 years.
Yeah, in the church. He was head of security.
He didn't know he owned a home inspection company. He didn't know he was
studying.
looking to become a home
Yeah.
inspector.
Yeah. So then, I after the baptism, I said, I'm going to call you next week and just see, because sometimes when you do something big like this, Satan will attack, right? So just like that sauce. So I called him. He's like, yeah, I'm going to be down in Texas, but why don't you, next week we'll get together, we'll get coffee, come by the office. I'm like, where's your office? So I went by and we started talking. I was like, you're a home inspector? I'm about 3/4 of the way through taking classes.
Yeah.
And I said, my wife and I want to move to North Carolina. He's like, are you serious? Come here. And he took me in the back room, flipped this dry erase board over, and on the back it said vision for 5 years or whatever, and one of the places was North Carolina. And not knowing who was going to be part of that or anything, like he just said, we should talk. So then it started just becoming more like boots to the ground and making things happen, and all those places, all those tests and stuff, I got 80s, and he said, you got to do better. So yeah.
Probably like a divine intervention on that one.
Sure was, yeah, I think so. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So,
You ready?
yeah, let me get.
Volcanic peppers.
We're in the last of the second row.
Mm-hmm.
Good piece with not much.
I try to evenly cook them the best that I can.
Oh, you're doing great. Woo.
That is hot.
That one hurts.
Going for the milk after all?
Gotta get the milk.
I can't do the milk. I don't drink milk, so just water for me.
Is it enough? Water's good?
Yeah, it'll be fine. I'll complain later. I'll really complain later.
So Jeremy, correct me if I'm wrong, but you have your Bachelor of Science in Building and Construction. Building inspection and construction.
I don't. I had originally started out down that path, and then
Okay.
I transitioned into, so much like their story's much cooler, but the way that I met Daryl, the owner of the company, was we were leaving California, and my operations manager at the company I worked for before was like, hey, would you mind if I help you find a job? And of course, why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
That takes a load off of me. So he sent out an email to the inspection group that exists, and somebody from Charlotte contacted me. Said, hey, got your info, you're coming to North Carolina. I'm like, well, we're gonna be in Jacksonville. Charlotte's a little bit too far. And he said, well, would you be interested in working in Raleigh? And that's still a 2.5-hour drive. So it's like, well, that's a little too far. And I said, okay, well, send me your information and I'll let's make a look. And then Matt, Daryl, they're coming to North Carolina. He wants to be in Goldsboro, Fayetteville, Jacksonville are kind of the big areas. So the plan is get it started and then kind of progress up. So I've actually changed just management for right now, just to kind of get the feet wet. And, maybe that'll come into play for higher education or something. So.
Okay. Well, sorry, my intel was
it's
wrong.
good. It was right.
That's embarrassing.
It was
I've
right on.
never had to
Yeah.
do correct
Yeah.
research before. Okay. But you are a military vet, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah,
this
you
next
got
story-
that is actually right because it exists on the internet. So it's actually correct.
Well, the other information
Yeah.
existed on the
Yeah.
internet too, and it was wrong.
Yeah,
so
we're military owned. Our company. I'm the only one in the whole company that's not a vet.
Oh wow.
Yeah, everybody else has either Navy or Army, Marines, whatever.
Okay. So why the move from the military to focus in home inspections?
So in retirement, you're kind of in retirement and just general transition. You're kind of almost left to your own devices. They try to prepare you, and you take it for what it is.
So you did actual retirement?
I actually retired
How
from the Marine Corps.
Okay.
So yeah, just shy of 22 years.
Okay. Nice.
So I thought what I wanted to do was something, so I did that, and I actually just kind of stumbled upon being a home inspector.
Your life.
Yeah. I stumbled on home inspector, and it was kind of like, okay, that sounds like a good job. I don't like people.
No, I've heard. I was surprised when she was like, yeah, he wants to do this too. I was like, Okay.
Well, and the
He
reason
doesn't
I'm
like
here is
people.
we want to show the team effort.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of it.
Okay.
Yeah. So the what is a home inspector? You pretty much work by yourself. You answer to one, maybe two people, and people don't bother you. And it's like, that's perfect. I love that. So that's kind of what made the transition. So exact opposite of this guy when it comes to people.
Yeah, no.
He recharges off of people. So
I do.
I tell everybody the first time we met in person, we drove up to Maryland for a conference, for an inspector conference, and he started talking about COVID and how he couldn't be around people. And I was driving, and he was about to start crying. Because he was just like, I needed to be around people. And then now meeting his wife, she's like, we were married at the time for 11 years at the time of COVID. She's like, he had never gone to the grocery store, and he started doing the grocery shopping because he's got to be around people.
Yeah,
and
it's
I'm
one
just
place.
like, I can be around one or two people, and I'm good.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Very opposite, the two of you.
Absolutely.
But it works.
Yeah.
It seems to work.
Yeah, it seems to work. We'll see. So.
Okay, are
Yeah.
you guys ready for this?
Ready for the
one?
last row?
And you've watched these.
A couple of them.
And you watched all the way through?
I did.
Okay, so you
Yeah.
know about this?
I saw
what
you
happens?
wiping your eyes at one point like this.
didn't
So
know
What happens to it?
I don't know. We're about to find out. It's called something.
The bomb.
Da bomb.
Oh boy.
I think I'm just gonna be a wuss and pull this off
No, I'm not
instead
eating
of
the whole
wrapping my lips around it.
I'm just gonna be honest. I'm not eating the whole one.
Oh wow.
Are you getting the skin in there?
Mm-hmm. No.
Is it? I know the wife will snitch.
Oh, she'll. Yeah.
Da bomb. Beyond insanity.
So, I actually want to switch these. Alright. So I've got a couple of deep dive items for you both.
Deep dive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, Matt,
Yep.
Nice.
I love Christmas. Christmas is my favorite time of the year.
that seems very on brand for
I didn't
you.
know she had photos of it.
Yeah, how'd you get that?
Social media.
Yeah.
Nothing is private on this earth.
Yeah.
So, yeah, was that a choice, a dare?
No, I wear I love Christmas. It's my favorite time. And then at our church, we had a huge children's event, and I would dress like that and do the whole jumping around, like the Elf movie. I love Elf movie. Yeah.
I could 100% see you in an elf costume.
Yep. I've
Going full
been in
on.
an elf costume. Yep.
Mm,
Jeremy, do you still collect sports cards?
I do. Yep.
How long have you been doing that?
I did it for probably 10 years as a child, and then kind of the reinvigoration. I started back again probably in like late 2020, 21, somewhere around there.
And just, do you do it for the value of them? Just
Partly the value. Unfortunately, I'm not very good about selling them. I've gotten rid of a few, but yeah, it's really, I think, the kind of find the cool card, the good card, the maybe the one of one type thing that exists out there.
so I take you like sports then. You're like big into sports.
Yeah.
You know all this,
Yeah.
the stats of the cards that you're getting.
If not, I go to the internet, so it's easy to find stuff on it. So,
Oh.
yeah,
Oh.
lots of cards, too many
Lots.
cards.
Do you know how many? Do you have like a count?
10, 15,000 probably. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jeremy, so is woodworking for you just a hobby, or have you made like any masterpieces?
I wouldn't call them
Well,
masterpieces.
she would, so.
she, Melissa finds Pinterest things, and she's like, "Can you do that?" And as long as it's not overly complicated, it's that. So I'd say about 40% of our furniture is handmade. It's not. I don't think it's anything spectacular. Excuse me, but she does. But it's a little bit of a stress reliever. So to be able to go out and Again, it's being alone. You
Yeah.
have to wear, or you should wear, hearing protection. So then I put that on. I'm not really listening to anybody. Put on some music and just make a mess and essentially break things with a motorized spinning blade of death.
If it counts for anything, I build my furniture at home too. You know, IKEA, Amazon.
Yeah,
I
it
put it all
works.
together.
Yeah. If you put it together, it counts.
It counts,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So I could say,
IKEA's tough.
yes, handmade
right.
furniture.
Pictures of
I would say
directions.
if you can, your relationship can survive an IKEA build, you're
Right.
solid.
Yes.
We've
Yeah,
done
I agree.
plenty.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, you ready?
Yep.
Code number 9.
I don't know about this.
I mean, you guys are doing fun. You got a
The
little of your
bites get
beard.
smaller as they go up.
Jeremy, got a little in your beard. A little spack. You got it.
Sweet.
Um,
It's hot.
from your experience, how often does mold actually come back as something of concern? So actually come back as concerned mold.
Right. So
You
the
know,
difference
we hear
between
mold
putting a
all the
loaf of
time.
bread on a table and coming back a week later, right, and having like penicillin mold, that kind, right? The
Well, I
green
guess
mold.
like, you know,
Doing a mold test.
yeah, when you know, people who go and look at the property, they'll just say mold for any growth and they
Yeah.
act like it's dangerous black mold
Mhm.
is the initial reaction. So how often is that actually the case where the mold that they really feel that needs tested is actually something that they should be concerned about, you know, breathing in, having cleaned up, have an area completely taken care of, have mold remediation done on it?
It's an upsell in the industry. It's a great upsell. It's if you read any newsletter or anything, it's one of like the top 3 things that you can do to upsell, increase revenue and everything. So it's a really, and especially if people know that. And then there's the sticker shock whenever you kind of tell them like, hey, you've got this that looks like it. You should, testing may be the way to go. Kind of the approach for me is, if I'm giving you an indication that I see something that looks like mold and there's enough of it, you should probably get a mold remediation company out here. The testing is, we're past the testing phase. It's mold. And anything that's manifesting like that, not as the little green stuff on a loaf of bread, is dangerous to you. It can have health effects. It may affect him where he gets sneezing, and I may have now asthma. So it needs to be addressed. If it's the person who's asking about, do I have mold, and we're just looking for the symptoms of mold, then that's a different story. I would say 9 times out of 10, it's not. There's really no issue. It needs to be dried, it needs to be repaired, and it's fine.
And if you see something that could possibly be, are you using the word mold in your inspection? Or if not, what verbiage do you use?
Possible organic growth.
Right. Yeah. We're not mold experts,
Right.
so we just say suspected. You know, it's suspected. So we can do a test for you, send it away. So there's a couple different ways with a swab. We can rub it, put it in a Ziploc, ship it off, right? Or we can do an air quality, where we actually like have a machine that comes in and pulls air, and it's, because I don't smell mold when I go into a place, but
Musty.
some people walk in and they're like, there's mold in that area, right? I don't have that smeller, especially now.
Yeah, I mean, I went into one house and there was so much mold. The only thing that wasn't mold was the outline of the 2x4s, the studs underneath the sheetrock. And he's about to get into a $300 mold test. Why? I'm not a mold expert, but you have
Right.
mold,
Right.
and it needs to be
It's
addressed.
like, is it really a question?
So save your, the only reason it would be to get it tested at that stage is to determine how dangerous is it, and should you even be in the house? Should they move? But I mean, at this stage,
maybe for insurance purposes.
I don't even think that was it. It came across as they wanted education on what it was, and it's like, at this level, how much you have, it's a danger to your body.
Yeah.
It is unhealthy for you, period. So
Yeah.
it's fine in the delicate balance, I think, personally. Mold is I guess for me, it's one of those issues that it's like I could try to sell you on a $300 mold test, but
Right.
if I'm telling you there's mold in the house, get somebody to look at it. I'm confident enough in that.
Right. And mold is the product of water.
So yeah.
So there's moisture. What are you gonna do with that?
Squirt it in your eye.
You know, you're the first one to actually react like that because I think you're the first one not to do your research before coming in here. Everybody else is like, oh, okay, we're doing this. So, it is tradition. You don't have to do it.
Yeah.
You
Just
don't have
snort
to.
a little bit.
Yeah. No, it's still it's called the last dab.
Okay.
The sauce is called. So you put one last dab on. So it's already sauce, but we're just adding a little extra. But you do not have to.
Okay. Are you doing that?
Yeah, I'll do it. I'm not scared. I'll have that light right there.
Yeah, I'll try
Yeah. Then you get the full experience.
This one's gonna hurt.
You think so?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm surprised you guys
Heavenly
did
Father.
as well. You guys did handle the bomb like great.
Which
So-
one was that?
The last one
Oh,
was
this?
wasn't as bad as the other one.
This one I thought was the worst.
Yeah.
Well, that's what everybody thinks.
Yeah.
Up
It's
to
pretty-
this point.
Right. And then what
All
happens?
right. Well, cheers.
Thanks for inviting us.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Hot.
It's delayed. Give
So
it
that one's
give it
a
a couple
2
seconds.
million plus Scoville level.
There it is.
It
So-
hurts.
What's your craziest home inspection horror story?
So.
Oh, yeah, right. You knew it right
Well,
away.
I know, because it's the one that I rank all other home inspections. And so I don't know if I shared in this class that I opened a door once and a parrot was flying around.
Yes, the parrot thing. Yeah. you
Yeah,
were in a room
so
with a-
6 inches of peanut shells on the ground, parrot flying around in the house. They disclosed that they had repaired a ceiling leak in the kitchen. Okay, there was that, but there was also. I told Daryl he should buy this house and use it as a test subject, like a house to go in to find 400 things wrong, because there was nothing I checked that wasn't wrong. So every house since then, so much that the bathtub did not. It just had a pipe coming out that was duct taped to the other pipe. So when I turned the tub on, water just squirted out. It didn't like come out like a tub. Like it was just it shot into the other wall.
Oh my
Of
gosh.
the, and then none of the lights were no GFCI. The floor was bouncy. It was horrible. There were sections of the ceiling caving in. There were about half the shingles missing. I mean, every area.
So you just end your home inspections now. Could be worse.
So all of my home inspections, I say it's not as bad as that one.
What about you?
I think I told him about it the last couple of days. I went into one that the floor was so dirty and nasty, and there was stuff all over there that my shoes were sticking to the. And we kind of joke about there's some houses where you feel like when you leave the house you should take your shoes off to go outside because you don't want to track that into the
Right.
You know. But it was so bad that, and it smelled and it was dirty that I stepped outside and called the lead inspector and was like, "What do I do on this?" And he's like, "Just take a bunch of pictures. We'll make a random comment. Just do what you can on the outside." So the outside was fine, and then no kidding, the crawl space was cleaner than the inside of the house. I spent like 30 minutes in the crawl space, and I was like, they should move down here.
We may have been in the same house. I think
Yeah.
I was in it yesterday.
Yeah, it was really bad. So
Yeah, it's too bad. People don't take care of stuff. And then,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, thank you guys.
Thank
How are
you.
you doing? You
I
feel
think okay.
yeah, that one's
I know you both
Kinda
were
sticking
very
around.
like anxious
Yeah.
to do them.
Yeah, we did them.
Was it as
There's
bad
a-
as you thought?
No, I didn't think I'd get it to the end.
But you did. And
Yeah.
you did the last stab.
Yeah, I feel like I'm gonna cry.
gonna be feeling this for the rest of the night. That's for sure.
Get in the car and just
Yeah.
Right.
use it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you guys so much. I appreciate you coming
Thank you for inviting
and,
us.
doing this with me.
Yeah,
It's fun.
yeah.
All right, well, guys, thank you for watching. Make sure to like the video, comment. If you want to work with them, go into the description and click the link, or check out their company, Focus Property Inspections, on Instagram. The link will be there as well. And ring the bell to know when we are doing another video. And do not forget to subscribe to the channel. We'll see you next time. Bye.